Like, what if your computer shuts down or something and you can't access it anymore? It's always important to keep the master copy. Hello, all my zine machines. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brie and I love zines. In this video, I want to talk about master copies of your zines, but first, to understand what a master copy is, we must understand what zines are.
So the main difference between a magazine and a zine is that zines are completely DIY, and that means that you make it yourself. There's no censorship. You don't have to go through a middleman for approval or anything like that. You could just get started because you're inspired to, or you want to express yourself. Magazines are printed by publishing companies, and their purpose is to sell ad space and make money. If you flip open a magazine, you'll see an ad on almost every other page, whereas when you open a zine, it's not trying to sell you anything. It's just trying to express the creator's opinions about something, share their art, share interviews, photographs, whatever. Think of zines like the anti-magazine. Zines could be about anything or nothing. It's really up to you. It's just about expression, and there are no rules to creating your zine, unlike magazines that have to go through editors and a big lengthy process of getting approved and printed.
Okay, so if you make zines by hand and you're into like the copy and paste style of making your zines and you enjoy collaging and stuff like that, you'll most likely always have a master copy. The master copy is exactly what it sounds like. It is the master copy. It's the blueprint of all of the copies that you'll make going forward. And this is an example of master copy. I'll give you a tour of it. But basically, you don't want to give this copy away because it is your main copy. You always want to hang on to that one because you want to use it to make copies in the future. If you make zines digitally, like on Photoshop, Procreate, or in Word documents, you'll always have a master copy already on your computer. But if you make zines by hand like I do, for the most part, I mean, I make both kind of zines, but if you like to make them in the traditional sense, I guess the old-fashioned way or whatever, you'll always have this physical copy to refer to when you need to make additional copies. So here are a few examples of some master copies I've made. I wanted to give you guys a general look at how they are the master copies, like what makes them a master copy. So this first example here is a lyric book zine that I made to one of my favorite Soulja Boy songs, and this is a form of master copy that I would probably not make copies of, and it would just be a one-off. So as you can see, I used a lot of stickers. There's some fake money that's creeping over the sides, so something like this would be hard to make scans of or to make photocopies of. If you wanted to make individual master copies and make a couple versions of these, they might all come out differently. They'll all be handmade, but it is a lot of effort to make. So something like this, I generally keep the master copy, and it's just something that I either post online to share about, or it was just something I created to express myself, not something that I want to distribute or make money from. So when I open it up, you can see there's a lot of interactive parts to this zine, so you could kind of understand what I mean by it would be hard to make copies of this. And this is a good example of a type of master copy that would just have one version, because I'm never gonna make copies of this, just personal preference. I don't want to make a bunch of handmade versions of this. It was just something for fun that I made a video on. If you want to see the video of this, I'll leave a link in the description. It kind of goes along with the song. See, it even has a mirror in it. It has these thick pom-poms. The heart is like a puffy heart. And then this part opens up. It has this pop-up, and like I said, if I wanted to make maybe like very limited editions of this, I would hand make a couple of copies, maybe like 10 or 12 of these, and then sell them as individual master copies. So this is just an example of a type of master copy you can make solely for yourself. It doesn't have to be distributed. You don't have to make copies. It's just something super creative that you wanted to make to have fun with or to express yourself. This is an example of a zine I made for my zine club. This is the master copy, and I did photocopy these and make scans of these and then make physical copies. So this one I made about 100 copies of. As you can see, it's flat. There's nothing interactive going on with it, so it's very easy to make copies. And it's a master copy because you could see the handmade nature of this. I used some stickers, I used Sharpie to kind of, I think I printed this out, and the black background of this piece of paper that I printed out didn't fully extend to the other pieces of paper that I used for the cover, so I just used Sharpie to fill it in. This is sort of mixed media because I did a lot of this on Procreate or in a Word document and printed it out, so you could tell that the font is something that I printed out and just glued inside of my zine. You can take a closer look. This is totally just taped and glued in here. So that's something you can do if you don't want to format it online. So that's something, the reason why I do a lot of this mixed media stuff where it's typed up on my computer and then printed it out and pasted into a master copy is because I'm not that great at formatting my zines on my computer. So I'm a little bit more old school simply for the fact that I just don't know how to do a lot of stuff on my computer. So I just kind of print it out, paste it in a master copy just because it's easier for me. So if you're like that and you have a hard time formatting your zines digitally, you can just print out what you need and paste it into your master copy. It's mixed media. You can tell I use some stickers, even though I printed this out. The collaging aspect I also did on my computer, but you can also do this with magazine clippings and collage it yourself. Some of my handwriting with more stickers, and then these are images I just printed out online. This zine is about American Girl dolls. One of their most recent historical dolls makes zines. The girl that makes the zines is named Nikki, and she has a twin sister named Isabella. So I wanted to give some context because it felt a little wrong to exclude the twin. So I wanted to be like, oh yeah, well, Nikki makes zines, but also here's a little bit of background about her. So I made this collage of her and her twin. And then there's some more mixed media. You can see the gloss from the stickers. I also, even though I printed this out, there was still some stuff I needed to add later. So I just went in with my handwriting and wrote that. You could even see whiteout. I think I messed up something. And that's pretty much it. I'm just showing you an example of how you can collage and why this is considered a master copy, because if I gave this out, the person that would receive this would understand that this is the blueprint zine because there's a lot of mistakes in it. You could see the whiteout, you can feel a lot of the stickers and stuff. So that's one good example, is this zine I made, the doll that makes zines. And then for my last example is another zine I made for my zine club. My zine club, they exclusively get new zines every single month. That's just for the club. Sometimes there's exceptions where I share them outside of the club, but usually I share them within the club because they support me on that platform. And if you're interested in that, the link will be in the description. This was their February issue, and it's called I Don't Care If You Don't Like Me, You Don't Even Like Yourself. This is also a mixed media zine where I made some of these images on my computer or on Procreate, printed it out, and pasted it into my master copy. But like I said, if you're technologically advanced and you know how to format your zines on your computer or on your iPad, do that. It's way easier. But I just like to do this hands-on kind of zine just because it's more fun for me, yes, but also it's easier for me to understand. Like, I could definitely learn how to format my zines better online, or on my computer, it just hurts my brain a little bit. So I like to do it this old school way. So as you can see, this is the title. I just printed it out on a sheet of paper, glued it in here. You could see that I glued over something else. You could see right through the paper. So another reason why I like to scan them in and send them to my computer is that I can edit it to take this out. So you could see through that paper and it looks really janky. All I do is mess with like the coloring of this and the brightness to kind of get that to go away. And that's just an artistic choice. If you want it to look neater, you can do that. If not, you could just straight up make copies from your printer as is without doing any editing, and that's still very valid. In my zines, I like to address my zine club, letting them know what inspired me, and I usually write this part all out by hand. I feel like it gives it a really good handmade feel, even though I'm making copies of it. I think it's really cool to see someone's handwriting in their zine because it gives it that personal touch. And this zine, as the title suggests, I don't care if you like me, you don't even like yourself. It was about a lot of people that I thought weren't true friends to me. I've had some things happen in my life last year, and I felt like a lot of people either didn't defend me or really understand my viewpoint and went along with their clique. And I have a big bone to pick with cliques. I don't think that they're healthy. I think it's a way to armor yourself. Not saying that if you have a big group of friends that you're like a fake person or anything like that. It's just, my mom always had this saying growing up, birds of a feather flock together. And that's what I kind of thought of this friend group, that kind of like, I felt like they betrayed me in a sense because they pretended to be my friend. They pretended to like me. And then when shit went down, when I had some drama happen with one of their friends, it was like, oh yeah, like you can vent to me anytime you want. I'm always here for you. So I would go to them, and then I found out later that they were using the information I gave them as gossip. So they were all just talking about me behind my back, and I'm being super vulnerable, telling them really super personal, vulnerable, intimate details, and these people were all talking amongst each other about my life as if it was like a reality TV show, like it was something you just turn on and entertain yourself with. It felt really offensive to me. So this zine is pretty much about those people because I hate when people do you wrong and then they act surprised when you cut them off. They're like, why doesn't she talk to me anymore? I don't understand what I did. You know what you did. You could play dumb all you want, but you know what you did. So anyway, that's what this zine is basically about. I ended up putting my block list in here, and you could see I put tape over it. It's pretty shiny, so when I make copies, it doesn't really look like this and it's not as tactile and analog. So that's why I really like the copies. It makes it a smoother finish, so whoever's flipping through it doesn't get the tape or other things caught on stuff, because as you can see, it's all taped up in here and it could easily get caught up on like even the sleeve of your clothing, or maybe even the tape will stick to other sides of the pages. So that's why I keep this the master copy, make better, smoother copies, so whoever's reading it doesn't have a bad experience reading my zine, or a messy experience. So this is just something I collaged over a huge sticker. I found a big giant sticker. So this thing behind it is just one big sticker, and then I printed out a little journal entry or essay and pasted it over, and it's basically just me venting about those people. So you could do that in your zines, you can vent, or you can release frustration, you can be as expressive or non-expressive as you want, you can just make art and not really talk about your problems. You can talk about your problems. This would be an example of a perzine because I'm talking about my lived experiences and my personal life. So if you want to learn more about that, I definitely do have a video all about perzines, and I'll link it in the description that you can watch. So this was because I was so upset and kind of bothered by these people. I felt like it would be more intimate to have a lot of my handwriting in it, because it almost reads like a diary or like a journal, and that's the kind of look I was going for. So I was like, oh, why not just be truly authentic with it and just write in it? That'll give more of a feel like it's almost intrusive. I wanted the reader to feel like, oh my god, should I be reading this? Like, is this okay? Is this allowed? A lot of my handwriting. I used a lot of stamps, sticker collaging, and I don't know if a lot of people know this. If you're in the United States, you can get free stickers from the USPS, which is the United States Postal Service. They give you a lot of free supplies, and I do use it for my business, but sometimes I just have excess lying around, or I get really inspired to use some of the free supplies in my zines. So this is a priority mail sticker that I just used to make this collage because I wanted a blank space, but I think if you look closely, you could see I wrote behind it, because when I make my zines, I make a blueprint and I write down what I want each page to include. So in the back it says threshold pick with something scratched out, and then in parentheses it says skating. Those are my notes. So as you can see, it's like me skating, or it's hard to see, but I'm wearing roller skates and I'm skating and I'm venting about someone that I used to be close to, and I needed something to cover that because I didn't want to waste paper and toss my blueprint zine. So I ended up just pasting this over. And that's another reason, like I said earlier, I like to scan it and send it to my computer, because I can somehow like change the brightness of this, or even just erase that background so it's a cleaner, vibrant print when I make copies. So yeah, this is just another example to show you what makes a master copy a master copy. So here's a bunch of stickers. I used a lot of cardboard, or not cardboard, but construction paper for the background, and of these little notes, and glued it on top of each other. And it's recycled paper, if you could see on the back. I printed something else on a piece of paper, but I messed up, so I just used the back of it for what I wanted to put in my zine. So you can do that. Even in the back, you could see I recycled a piece of paper that I guess I messed up on or something, and then I just went over with Sharpie to kind of hide the mistakes, but I think it gives it a really cool arts and crafts effect. It gives it a really crafty look. And then in the back, I used a cutout from a book. I really like to do this. This is another aspect of my master copies that I really like. I like taking pages from old books and using it in my zines. And what I usually do is I thrift books, or I buy books very cheaply. Then I purchase 2 copies of it. I always like to get a second copy because I like to use them in my zines for collaging. So this is from one of my favorite books called Be Here Now, and I just ripped it out because the book was it had water damage, and I have 2 copies, and one of them was water damaged. So I was like, well, I guess I could use it in my zines now. So that's exactly what I did. But I like to do that. I actually recently, last year, I worked with the brand Manic, and they wanted to gift me one of their books because they wanted me to make a zine about their brand, and they were like, maybe this book will help you get to know about us a little bit more, so it could help you with the commission. And I was like, okay, but can you send me 2 copies of the book, because I think it would be cool to use parts of the book in the zine for you guys. And they were so excited about that, so they sent me 2 copies of the book. Just in case this helps you in any way, here's an example. They gave me their book about their brand, which is awesome, by the way. I love Manic, and I really enjoyed working with them. If you want to see the commission that I made for them, I'll link it down in the description. They're super nice people, and they were really awesome to work with. So they sent me this book because they wanted me to get a deeper dive into their brand. So if you're not familiar with Manic, they make alternative hair color. So if you ever dye your hair a crazy color, you've probably heard of Manic. They're a cool brand that's usually carried in Hot Topic and Sally's Beauty. So they sent me this book, and it's all about their brand. It's all about the history of them, and different celebrities that use their products. And this is awesome. This is untouched. Look at how great quality this is. But then because I needed a book to rip up and use in their zine or in their commission. They sent me another one, and this one is all messed up, guys. Like, I even put a sticker that says sample so I know that this is the book I use for zines and collaging and not this one. And when you open it up, you could already see I ripped out, look at, I've ripped up some of the book. This, I have no idea what this is. Yeah, I just ripped it up. It's really cool for collaging to be able to use books in this way, but I know that some people, look at, I just tore that up. I know some people are very precious about their babies, about their books. I am too, guys. I went to college for English, creative writing. I'm a huge literary nerd, and I would never just willingly rip up my books. But for art's purposes, for art's sake, I do like to get 2 copies, and it's very easy to do that, especially if you get your books from Goodwill or if you thrift them online through shops like Thrift Books and stuff like that. So that's just an example of what I did in this zine here. This is ripped up from one of my water damaged books. I thought it was a good way to give the book new life in my zine, and I collaged over it, put some stickers. Same thing with this side. I thought it was cool. At the end of books, when people have the about the author section, I was like, ooh, let me do an about the zine maker. And I just put a little info about me down there. And this is something else that I printed out and just glued in here and collaged with some stickers. So I hope that these examples show you just a wide variety of what a master copy can be. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as you can see, a lot of these range, you know, these are just my examples too. There's a lot of people that make zines and their master copies vary as well. So the master copies you always want to keep on hand, because I don't know if I said this earlier, but your computer may crap out. So even if you scan these in and send them to your computer, who knows what could happen to your technology. It's always a good idea to keep these on hand, keep them in a binder, keep them in a bin, in boxes, because it'll be cool in a couple of years when you look back on this stuff and have something tangible like photographs, you know? Like my parents used to keep a lot of pictures of me and my siblings, because back then they didn't have, you know, digital cameras like we do now where you could just save them on your phone and stuff like that. They actually used disposable cameras. They sent the film to a photo lab, got their prints back. And so my mom has a huge bin of just pictures of me, like physical pictures. And that's how I like to think of zines. It's just imagine my collection in 10 years. I think it's really important to hang on to these, even if you make copies, even if you make a PDF of it on your computer, always keep these on hand. So that leads us into how can I make copies of my master copy? Well, what I like to do is I scan each paper front and back. It's important to scan each paper like this because how you print it matters. In order to print copies of your zine exactly how the master copy looks, you need to scan the full spread because it helps keep the individual pages in order and it just helps you fold it all up at the end. If that's confusing, here's a visual of how my pages look in a zine. And what I mean by scanning each spread is I scan it open like this front to back. So when I print it out, I can just stack each page on top of each other just like the master copy and fold it all up. Everybody's different, but this is just how I do it. I start by scanning each full spread paper and I organize them and put them in order on my computer. I also use the master copy for reference to make sure the order is correct before printing. So if I had a side-by-side, my master copy will be on the desk beside me. As I'm looking through the PDF copy on my computer, I make sure everything is in order. After printing every full spread page, I use my master copy again as reference. So I put them in the correct order, then I fold it all up and bind it. There are so many different ways to bind your zine, but the most popular bind is just to use a staple. If you want to figure out different ways to bind your zine, I do have a video on that. It's called How to Make Your Zine Less Boring, and I go over different ways that you can bind your zine, but also just Google binding zines or book binds. There's a lot of ways you could do it. You could saddle stitch it, you can use staples like I do, you can use paper clips. There's so many ways to do it, so just do some research to figure out which one works best for you. Once you're done making your copies, you now have your copy from the printer and your original master copy. So keep in mind your copy may not come out as vibrant or as colorful as your original. This is completely normal and expected, especially if you have a standard cheap printer like I do. I also get a lot of questions about the printer that I use, and you guys, I don't use a fancy printer. I have a very janky one. It's called an Epson EcoTank, and I really like it because it uses ink pods instead of ink cartridges, which saves me money. I also use a Canon Pixma MG3620, which uses cartridges, and they're kind of expensive, but sometimes I like to use this to get better prints. But remember Remember, it's okay if it's janky too though. So as long as you're expressing yourself, the canvas doesn't really matter. And that's all you need to know about the master copy. Super simple, right? Super easy, but very important. It's very important to hang on to this so you can always make copies in the future. If you wanted to make your zine super exclusive and only small batch it, which is very common, and then never make more copies of that to give out, that's an option. But if you want to keep making copies in the future because you want to sell them or give them away or trade them, always hang on to this. Even if you send it to your computer and you make a digital copy, I don't know, this is what I like to keep the physical representation of the zine on hand, because you never know. Like, what if your computer shuts down or something and you can't access it anymore? It's always important to keep the master copy. That's all you need to know about it. I hope that my tutorial on how to scan it and everything was very helpful. If you have any other questions, or if you have zine tips yourself and you have a more efficient way of doing this, please leave a comment, because it definitely helps people that come across this video later. Just have fun with it, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.